What's up, people? As everyone, or as I always say whenever anyone asks, I don't know when the next demo will be. I don't know. I got to work on the features, and I'm not working on features today. I'm working on fixes and cleanups. Let's do some fixes and cleanups. What do you say to that? I've got a list on this piece of paper of stuff that I wanted to do for a while, and it's smaller things than the big things. It's been a very successful weekend so far. Sunday, I might do a little bit of streaming tomorrow. We'll see. I might be streamed out for a few days. But between yesterday and today, we made some big changes to the compiler that were scary to one degree or another, but they appear to have worked great. So I'm going to go and do some littler things. Thing number one, there's this thing called major expression that I think can go away. It's like 3 years old. We were editing the scope struct today, and it's one of the members on there. And it used to be just like a way of looking up referencing where this block is, but we've got more specific things that we've been doing now. We've got belongs to lambda, belongs to struct, and all that. And this may change eventually. Like maybe we'll change it back to like this, but with a flag or something so that we use less memory. But even if we do that, the way this is looked up, there's this get major thing that like walks up the stack, and we don't really need to do that. Like if you belong to a struct or a lambda, you always directly set the pointer. So we can get rid of get major, and we can get rid of this major expression, and that'll be fewer lines of code. Let's do a count right now. We are at 4, 1, 5, 8, 7. Let's see if we can end up lower than that. I think we can. All right. So, before I delete the member, I want to change the routine, the get major, to just be what I think it should probably be. Functionally, right? And then I can just replace, once that works, I can replace the place it uses it. So before we do anything, let's make a debug build and make sure we can compile Sokoban without asserting. I'm pretty sure we can, but we did a lot today. It doesn't hurt to be careful. It is an eye tracker, yes. How is the tracking right now? I haven't checked the calibration in a while. Let's see. Tracking. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. All right. We can run it. Yeah, great. So that's all good. So now, where is our get major? Get major is line 997 of interp. Get major. Declaration. Let's delete this old stuff. We don't want that. Okay. Block stack. Get current. Get major, I think, is the following. Auto block is get current. If block belongs to lambda, return block belongs to lambda. Like what? Okay, what do I even want this for? Get major. Who calls it? It's called twice. Here. Just to get anything. And then here, we just want to know what am I even looking for here? Can only be used as an expression. I don't even know. I don't know that this even makes sense. Maybe I don't need to replace this with anything. Like, do we use major at all? Major. No. I'm just gonna delete these. I think this is so old it just doesn't even make sense anymore. That is my theory. It's so old that we can just delete get major. Delete anything that says get major at all. And I think we run just fine without any of that. Because, well, I mean, you should be able to use those, like you should be able to bind something to a bake directive, and that would be at global scope. It wouldn't be inside a struct or anything. So it's just, that's gone. That's gone. I'm happy. Well, I mean, let's make sure it works. I don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah, the eye tracker I don't see on my screen. Only the audience can see the eye tracker. All right. Well, if we need whatever that error message was sometime in the future, we can reintroduce, we can reintroduce it in a way that is more modern and makes sense, but I don't think those make sense at all. I don't think they did anything. In fact, I think the only thing they could do is prevent us from doing things we should be able to do now. All right, what did that save us? At least 10 lines. Wow. 22 lines. We're down to 41566. We're only 43 lines up from where we were yesterday morning at the start of this stream marathon. That's cool. How's my... Everything working? Everything's working, yeah. Mic volume is good. I'm just checking. Chat's kind of quiet, so I'm making sure that everything's going well. Let's close these unnecessary windows. Okay. Next, let's debug this push debug expression thing that I saw. Right. So when we push debug expression, you know, I was setting a breakpoint for when arrays got big, and I got shocked by how big this one got. So I'm going to go assert debug expression stack.items is less than oh, I don't want to assert that. We'll set a breakpoint here. We should never get to 1,000, but I think we will. Wait, is it, why is that diamond shaped? Wait, what? Hold on. Oh, we don't want to be doing tests, though. We want to be doing Sokoban. That's the bigger program. Oh, I'm okay. I've been streaming for 2 days straight. I've been doing good. Okay. We are certainly not 1,000 expressions deep in this thing. Emit code for binary push debug expression. And then we're returning. Well, that's not good. Let's just see. Does this one pop? Yep. We just did that one. This one, okay, calls pop debug expression. Like this is going to have some returns in it, right? Maybe not. Isn't this going to maybe have some yields? Yeah. All right, let's do that. I hope it's not slower. Yeah. The reason I hope this isn't slow is because we do it all the frickin' time. All right. All right. I'm going to inline these and put them at the top so that the compiler can frickin' see them. Now I want to run and not hit that breakpoint ever. So we popped without a push, or we popped too many times? We popped too many times? Asked operator expression. Oh, when we do binary. Okay, wait. We already pushed it. It's a binary. Okay, we had a spare pop at the end of binary, but you know, we don't need that anyway because we did it in the other thing. We did it in the other thing. Any particular reason you're working on the compiler and streaming a lot more? I just felt like it. I felt like it. This is how it goes. I follow my motivations. As famous game actor David Hayter once said, let your dreams drive you. Okay. All right. All right. Sham bam bamina. So these are all smaller things, but it's good to do the smaller things, especially after doing the big things. Gives you some variety. Makes sure you're not lopsided in where your attention is going. Commit, fix, unbalanced, push, debug, expression stuff. Okay. Okay. Next, I did that lambda refactor yesterday, and that involved taking away the special queued things, but structs still have that, right? They have this thing called header, and it's the same as queued. So I'm just going to frickin' get rid of that. And in fact, I don't know why I don't just call Q for result. Oh, well, I guess I do down there. Can't I just call that on the expression? Yes. So there. Bam. All right. And then let's go to ast.h and struct : get rid of header. We're going to use the one in the base class as God intended. Okay, so here is queued. All right. There's no reason to be as coy about that. I'm using this a lot. All right, let's go to Emacs. Hope I don't screw something up. I'm just going to bulk fix these. None there. Emacs. I hate this editor. All right. What have we got? A handful of things now. Okay, parser 562. interp and typer. Okay. Oh, this is body header. And we're not even using that. I so could have screwed something up. I don't know what. Okay. Oh, explain. Wait, what? This is not how this works anymore. Right? This is assuming that there would be a declaration as the expression, but that is simply not how it works. If I go back and look at where was make struct, it was in parse ask dot something. Ask.cpp. Let's go look at that. I believe we just assign it to the struct. Make struct. Header expression equals desk. Yeah, there's no declaration. So this goes back to a really old time when we had intermediate declarations for things. That cannot happen anymore in the current compiler. Well, let's see if I screwed it up. Any plans to swap to 4-coder? I've been thinking about it. It takes a lot of energy to switch. Am I excited at all about Valve's new game Artifact that Richard Garfield is designing, or not really? Not really. I mean, that kind of card game is just not my thing. So, you know, I bet some people are excited about it. It's just not the kind of game that I'm into. Who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll love it. Look at that. That worked. And boom. This is a thing that I've been hoping to do for a long time. It only took 10, 15 minutes, but I'm very happy about this. Very happy. Someone's car alarm is going off outside. I'm not happy about that. Okay. Okay. So much good work happens when we delete things we did in the past. Okay. Where are we at? 41555. So we are 32 lines down from the start of this stream, less than an hour ago, I think. And we're only 42 lines up from yesterday morning before we did all this amazing functionality. Only 42 lines up. And if I feel... Okay, let's look at the constants told me thing. Because this is a little bit scary, but it's also, you know, a good thing to try to attack. I may fail. I'm a little tired. I've been doing this for 2 days straight. But let's give it a try, because this could really not only reduce the number of lines of code, but remove a really silly, or not silly, but complication that's not good. Okay, now that we no longer have global scope optimization, can we just roll this into the data scope handling above? Because this is, okay, if the target scope belongs to struct or enum, then we get a header. Okay, and what do we do with that? Nothing? No, we do. Let's move that down to where we use it. Like, where even are we? Whoops. So we are in except block for static if. So if we belong to a struct or belong to an enum, we need to preserve order. We could also preserve order in other scopes if that simplifies our code. It's probably a good idea because introspection would be aided, but maybe not. Maybe it doesn't matter. Or maybe we only do the splice, you know, if one of these is true. Anyway, so header is only used way down here in this sequence, I think, right? Yeah, that's it. So let's first of all migrate this complexity down to the place where it needs to be. Let's compile that. Okay. Causes. Assert that the lambda we are inserting into hasn't already finished inferring. Wait, what is block? Oh, block is what we're accepting. Okay. I should put the assert that target scope is true before I dereference it. You can tell when code has drifted a little bit, you know. Okay. Yeah, oh yuck. Oh yuck. Instead of creating a sequence, I mean, maybe it should be individual dummy nodes later. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. one per Yeah, I remember being very unhappy about this sequence situation. I remember it leads to some complications, but that's not what we're working on right now. We're not working on it yet. Okay, we already asserted lookup is not large up here and also down here. Let's put it down here where it needs to be. Wow, we removed some lines already. 41552, we're 3 lines down. Yeah. Okay, for the statements. Sequence expressions. Set and closing scope. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that strategy. Frickin'. Oh, we're doing that so we can put it on the substitution as well. But we're marking for reinfer, so it doesn't have to be on the substitution. Yeah, this could be different if the sequence is a problem. Okay, but that is the case for imperative scope. Okay, that's fine. We now are worried about declarative scopes. And what is this is global scope? Okay, so first of all, let's make sure that nothing I did just damaged anything. I mean, maybe it's asserting, but I don't think so. Okay. Now, let's check this in. You know what? Yeah. Minor refactors of if handling. Okay. So now data scopes. We can definitely. Okay, members to insert. Let's move that closer to who needs it. That's down there. And then new statements can go here. Okay, all this looks good down to the top of this next loop. Okay. So if it's a declaration, we copy it, we say it's inserted. See, part of what bugs me about this function is up there we made a sequence, and here we're like copying. It's like really so different. Okay. We have to handle ifs inside ifs. So this is the thing, though. What I don't get is all this logic is just happening here. I guess we don't care about the ordering otherwise. Okay. Okay, if we want to fold this into this thing up here, for the non-declaration case, this is all we need to do. So if it's a declaration, otherwise we do this. Okay, set and closing scope we do in both. That is that. Okay. Is it called is global scope? Yeah. Okay, so now if we want to integrate this into the other thing. Oh God. No, that's true. So this is all for declarations. And again, we copy the declaration. So that's the same. Do we not call remove from scope on the old declaration? Okay. We get a new declaration. We copy the location or copy the thing. We set the inserted by static if. We also steal queuing, but I don't know if we need to do that at any specific time. You know what? This is fine. That can happen for either one. Okay, steal queuing. And this is fine because if we're in a global scope, this won't be true. And then this is the same for both. So steal queuing. If is global scope. We do these. Otherwise, we do this. And then I may be able to reduce the amount of things that are happening here. Okay. Right, so we're only going to use that. Who knows what I have done here? All right, so That was our at gnarly. Okay. Where was our thing? Header. Okay. Whatever. I have no idea how bad of a mess I just made. Am I sure I need a new language now that C++17 is out? Oh, you're joking. Oh, you are so joking. Hey, look, Sokoban compiled. Wow. Okay, how many lines did we get there? 41543, we got another 10 lines. We're now only 30 lines up from yesterday morning. And we've got some room. Let's run the debug versions of these, though, just in case we tripped an assert in some way. Why would anybody, from now until the end of time, hundreds of thousands of years in the future of human history, why would anybody ever need another language now that C++17 is out? How does that even make any sense? I mean, come on. C++17 happened and Ray Kurzweil was like, well, I can stop talking about the singularity because it's obviously here. All of human race can just stop worrying about anything now. Everything is done. Climate change is solved. World poverty is solved. C++17. Great. Doesn't have modules, but you don't need that for the singularity. Stupid question, but why are templates not okay? I have a rant on YouTube somewhere explaining why templates are bad. You know, I need to make like a frequently asked questions of like YouTube rant links that I can give to people. They make compilations slow, they're hard to understand, they result in a large volume of code, and they generate very bad error messages, among other things. Among other things. And they're just very complex in terms of language semantics. Okay, well, let's well, did we run this? Yeah, we did. Okay. So let's simplify this even a little more, because remember I had this, is this a historical? Like, what is removed from scope? fine. That's just for debugging purposes, I'm pretty sure, so that when I'm looking around at nodes in the debugger, I can tell if they've been removed. All right, so we make a new declaration. We copy the old declaration. The new declaration is inserted by static if. We propagate the exported flag. That may happen in copy declaration. Flags to copy. It's a lot of flags. It's not exported is not in declaration flags to copy. Maybe it should be. I think it should be. Here we explicitly okay, that's in parser. Parser. This is what we're looking at. This is a bit of a runaround. Make using import declaration. I don't know about this. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about that. It's not really going to simplify anything to do that. It would just save this one line, but we'd be moving this line somewhere else. So it wouldn't save any lines. Okay, so we steal the queuing. If the target scope, oh, you know what I was going to do? Oh, I did do that. I said for imperative block and then we return. Okay, that's good. So do we steal queuing here too? I feel like we have to. I don't know. Wait, we're calling splice members on the non-global scope. Wait, what? Members to insert. Oh. That's bananas. Okay. We don't care about this assertion. See, this is exactly what, this morning when I made my 2-hour bug, it was because I didn't do all these fields. And I should just do a full copy here. Let me just make sure I didn't screw something up there. This splice didn't matter because members to insert would be empty. That works. This works. Unfortunately, that cost us a couple lines. We're okay. This will get us a couple lines back. Target scope equals new, target scope arrow statements equals new statements. Yeah, but that is how we roll. Four 11542. Well. All right. All right. You know, we could just put this into one array and do a different thing with it, right? So, yeah, let's do that. Oh, this is, I should investigate this. But before I investigate this, well, let's do this. We'll do the following. New declarations.add new decal. Wait, I'm doing the wrong thing. We don't want to clobber new statements. We want to clobber maybe export members. So here, it shouldn't be statements.items, it should be members.items, right? And it's called new declarations, right? And then there. Okay, and then maybe export. This is, whoops, new declarations. Right, and then members to insert is new declarations. Makes sense to me. Okay, wait. Okay, well, I hope that didn't do something real bad there. Let's find out. Have I finished the scope optimizations? What are the new numbers? Well, so we haven't looked at a profile at all, right? And when you get serious about minimizing the numbers, you should look at the profile. And so we'll do that another day because I want to know now what it looks like now that we've cleared that out. But after I run tests, we can look at what the number is. It's in the 0.53 to 0.54 range, I think. Let's see. So 0.539, you know. So 0.529, 0.53, yeah. So that's down from around, you know, the high 0.6869, 0.7. So that's pretty good for one day, right? And we don't even know how much more headroom there is. We literally have not looked at where the time is going. Okay. We're talking about the global scope. Like, where is all this time in the front end going now, right? We would like to know. I have some suspicions that a lot of it is still in identifier lookup. But that just means we can add a new technique to that. Okay, we're working on this thing Constance told us. Checked add to scope. Does that export things? So we check for redeclaration. It looks like we don't. Let's look at who checks the exported flag. Maybe export declaration. Who calls that? Well, maybe export declarations, which that's what we were calling, right? Yeah, so that's one place. When we get an overload, maybe we, oh no, that's that, okay. Okay, it's recursion. Load directive, everything when the load directive is done. And this. So my answer is no. Checked add to scope doesn't do exporting, which is fine. All right. So let's see if there's anything else. Like, I feel like this can get more simple over time. Like, we're still doing a lot of different things in this routine. But I feel like maybe some of them involve structural changes globally to the compiler to not require so much complexity. Yeah, we want to preserve. I can't think of a reason why this wouldn't be right. course, I'm not sure why an enum isn't internally a struct, but maybe there's a good reason for it that I forget. All right, let's. Oh, we've been doing debug build the whole time. Oh boy. I haven't been testing what I thought I was testing. Now we may be in trouble. We may be in some trouble here. Oh, okay. 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 Come on. Come on. Okay. Debug. See if we assert. Okay, so I'm a bit happier with that. This is still, like I said, for me to be really confident about static if, I really would like it to be simpler. Now look at all the stuff we do in different cases. I would like it to be a third as much code as is here. I'm not sure what the best way is to make that happen, but maybe it'll become clear as we continue to improve the compiler. Okay. Any questions or anything like that? What are people thinking in the chat right now? 163 people at 11:30 on a Saturday night when people are out partying. Four 1539. We're doing so good. "26 lines up from yesterday morning. Why am I not out partying today? Because I was motivated to do a lot of streaming. It's kind of like it was on Superstream Sunday when I was motivated to do a lot of streaming, but 2 days in a row. Because we got some big things done. These were things that, were sitting in the wings. Like we're trying to get the compiler to a point where we can give it out to people. And as long as these big changes that need to get made that aren't being made are back there, it's like, we're far from that. But now we're not as far from that. And that's great. You seem to be optimizing for time. How do you know if your optimization fits the general case? Do you try compiling different programs to see if different styles use cases will have different hotspots? If you are doing serious optimization past the lowest hanging fruit, then yes, you need to do that. But if you go back and watch one of the earlier streams, you'll see I'll explain that. But I did explain that. But we just knew that this was taking a lot of time because it was something absurd. So we went in and hit that. It was something so absurd that we knew that we had to do it. Like we added the OpenGL file and we saw our compile times shoot way up. So we knew we had to do it. I've finally done it. The time went down. But like I was saying a few minutes ago, I don't know that the current settings are optimal. I don't know that the current data structure is optimal. In fact, I can well assume that they're not optimal because it's the first thing I picked, right? So at some point when we get serious about speed, we'll do what you say. We'll take a bunch of programs, we'll compile them all, we'll see where the compiler spends time for all of them, we'll try to cluster them into different issues, and then we'll optimize. But for this thing, we really didn't need to do that. Sometimes you really just don't need to. Streaming is a little bit fun. It's harder to do work when I'm streaming, but it's also a little bit like a vacation from my regular days, so it's fun. I haven't been streaming constantly the whole time. I took a break and just picked it up again less than an hour ago, or maybe about an hour ago. It seems the way you test is just run Sokoban or chess. Why not have more comprehensive automated tests? Okay, this thing, watch how much stuff scrolls by here. See all those where it says okay a million times? Those are different tests. This is all regression tests for 150 different bugs that we found before, and we're making sure that the bugs are gone. These are different functionalities. These are all the different YouTube demos that I gave, or modern adaptations of them, and we're making sure all that functionality still works. So yeah, this is an automated test suite that is not Sokoban, that tries to hit all the different parts of the language. Is it foolproof? No, there's certainly a lot of things missing from there, but we're building it up over time. So you're exactly right that we want something like that. And yes, we have something like that. And we're making it increasingly elaborate over time. Are there any board games you like at the moment or you've liked in the past? Go is a really good board game. So I played this game, Tack, which is fictionally based on the Name of the Wind, Wise Man's Fear fiction series. And it was a surprisingly good board game for one based on a fantasy novel. I had a good time. Someone showed me how to play, and then I won like twice in smart ways, or quote smart unquote. It couldn't have been that smart because I was new at the game, but like it was good that I could challenge someone who had played a number of games and knew how to play. That was cool. How will you learn when there's a release? Well, we will have documentation and indexes for all the videos, and we'll probably do live hangout type of sessions where people do questions and answers. We'll work it out. That's still in the future. Any chance you will ever make semicolons optional? I don't know. I thought about it, and I don't see very much upside, and I see some downside. There's, Go does that, I think, right? And there's some downside. There's some things that don't parse, and so you need to like put braces in those places. And it's like, really? I don't know. I think I'm tired enough that that's all the programming I'm going to do for today. It's been a good day. And yesterday was also a good day. Will I buy fireworks for the release? I don't think those are legal in San Francisco. So we'll have to do something else. Yeah, the easiest thing to parse is S expressions. After that is semicolons. True. True. Am I working on a new game? Yes. Yes, I am working on a new game. What about mandatory parens around conditionals? Well, why? Why have those? Why have those? Have I set my keyboard key repeat and repeat delay? Yeah, my delay is probably pretty long. It could be shorter. I just, dude, I have new Windows machines all the time, and trying to set the same things on all of them is a hassle. And then you set your settings, and then a Windows update comes and installs and resets all your fucking settings, right? I can't bother to care anymore. That's basically what's going on. I have my minimal amount of software that I use, and I install that, and I just ignore everything else. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely syntax decisions that look better or look worse, but we're not very serious about syntax right now. We're going to try to make the syntax good later on. Right now, we mostly care about language semantics. Well, we played around with the eye tracker color a little bit, and people seem to think this color was fine. I don't know. Why do I use Windows when not forced to for game dev? You are forced to for game development. You can't develop games on Linux. Come on, that's ridiculous. I hope it comes to Xbox a little earlier this time. Yeah, we're going to try to. So when we launched The Witness, we were a small team. We could only do so many platforms. We didn't have that much money to pay people to help us. For the next game, we want to launch on more platforms at once. And some of that will be, we'll hire contractors to help us port and so forth. We have plans to support all our existing programs' syntax. You mean when the syntax change happens? Yeah, we want to use metaprogramming to make that automatically upgradable so that early adopters don't get screwed. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be an interesting test to make sure that our metaprogramming is good, right? That's the way I see it. Will there be support for tagged unions? I don't find tagged unions very useful. If somebody can give me a really good case for them, we can talk about it. But I don't see the point, quite frankly. When we had the macro facility, maybe you could use that to do a tagged union dereference kind of a thing. I don't know. We'll see. Don't I think I should do the syntax change sooner rather than later? No, because we have enough to think about right now. And like one of the ways we're going to know how the current syntax is good and bad is just when a number of people who haven't been used to the language yet come and start to use it. And we'll see what people get confused by. We'll see what kind of mistakes they make. And then we'll decide from there how to delta the syntax to remedy those things. But like, if I try to make those decisions now, it's like I'm used to the syntax, I'm not confused about anything. So I very easily could make decisions that don't solve real problems for real people. So I don't want to do that. Is this your main project right now? Yeah, this plus the game that's in this language. Could you describe what kind of things are left before you do the private release? Well, there's still a bug list of bugs that have to get fixed. It's not very long anymore, but we still have a lot more fuzzing to do and stuff like that. I want to finish the macro facility and do some touch-ups that are based on that. That's really the biggest thing. After we do that, and then I want to make the compiler a little faster because it takes like 1 second to compile Sokoban right now. After we do those things, then I think we can do this smallest scale private release, unless I'm forgetting something. More formal library support is the other one. But I think that's going to be the next task that I work on, actually. So that'll start coming soon now that all this other stuff is out of the way. So macros, library support, And then we can open it to smaller people and see how they do, and then open it. Why take such a waterfall approach? Surely the people in the private release are used to using alpha software. I have whole rants about this, okay? My number one thing that I dislike about open source is that it wastes so many people's time. Like, people have no respect for the scaling factor that happens when you put software out into the environment. Say it only has a very minor problem, and it takes people an extra 5 minutes to figure out how to run it because they get confused about something because you didn't document something that well or whatever, right? If 10,000 people use your program, which is only a mildly successful piece of software in the modern world, when you could easily release something that millions of people use, say only 10,000 people use it, you wasted 50,000 minutes of people's time with that one thing, right? How much is 50,000 minutes? Well, it's about 1,000 hours, right? I mean, let's do it exactly. 50,000 minutes divided by 60 is that many hours, divided by 24 is 34 days. You've wasted an entire month of human effort time and made people have low quality of life with your one stupid 5-minute thing that you should have fixed, right? And that's only for a mildly successful piece of software. And how many of these programs only waste 5 minutes of people's time? None, because they all have way worse problems than that. They all make you sit there and deal with bullshit for like 2 hours just to figure out how to compile it, right? It's just such a monumental waste of time. And this is one of the major reasons why open source has not progressed. Open source software, in terms of the sophistication of what you're able to use, has been mostly stagnant for at least 1 decade and 15 years, 20 years, a long time. Why? Stuff like that. Oh, somebody linked my previous rant, which may be better than what I just said. Anyway, that's my reasoning. So I want to make it good because, like, I know what the problems are right now. I don't need users to tell me what the problems are right now. I know what they are. So let's just fix the problems that we have and then let some people start using it, right? Are enums simple type safe integers, or are they like Rust type switches? No, they're simple integers. Simple integers. How is the legal structure? We'll figure that out later. The initial releases are not going to be open, so we don't have to worry about them making them open source. They'll be to smaller audiences, and we'll just have people sign a thing that says they won't release it, you know, and then we'll gradually grow that circle of people who have access to the compiler as it gets more robust and more proven. And then once that's grown to a certain size, we'll say, okay, it's time to open it up. But I don't have a schedule for that. And so, you know, when it's time to open it up, we'll probably have more concrete thoughts about what the license should be, for example. But I'm not worried about that in the near future. I'm worried about making a good language. I mean, open source is a good idea in a lot of ways. I'm not 100% negative on it. It's good, but people are not doing a good job at it in certain major respects. And this should be obvious to the community, and the community should be working hard to fix this, and everybody's blind to it, and it drives me bananas. Like, it's the biggest problem. Well, the second biggest problem. The biggest problem is the way everybody forks Linux into 10 trillion distros that are all isomorphic to each other. And so nobody can put together the effort to build an actual good experience. Have I thought about creating a console myself? No. No, I'm not a hardware guy. How will I prevent big corps from taking the code and forking it? Because they will not be allowed to. I think there's been a lot of progress in the right direction. Maybe not. Excuse me while I go write my Electron application. Yeah. Electron! AKA, let's use as many electrons as possible because energy efficiency isn't a thing. We don't care about climate change. We're just going to write all our crap in JavaScript and use 100 times as much power as it needs to on every computer in the world. Sure, that's an extra 0.1 degrees Celsius in the climate or whatever. It's fine. Nobody cares. Do I think GIMP is a good example of open source software? I have not seen GIMP in a long time, so I can't answer that. If you guys think I'm exaggerating about the Linux distros, there's this really great graph. Okay, this is, I can get the Twitch window off there. This is the real shizzle here, okay? If you want to learn about Linux distros, this is all the forking of all the distros. Boy, we sure need all those distros, man. There's no wasted work there at all. We're going to have, oh, we're not even all the way on the right. You know, Linux is going to win the desktop any second now because of all of this not redundant at all effort that all these people are doing to make the absolute best experience for you. They're all teaming up and making the best possible thing. They're not at all, you know, splintering off their effort into things that go nowhere and so forth. And I'm sure there's a lot missing from this. These are only the ones famous enough to be in Wikipedia, right? Like, how many goddamn distributions do you need? Have some self-respect, community. What are you even doing? You know, and then even things on here that are one distro, like let's find Mint, not Famento, not Peppermint. Linux Mint, okay. Linux Mint is 1 point on here. If you actually go to Linux Mint, it's like 5 different distros. All right? And you like pick which, there's the Cinnamon edition, the Mate edition, Community, there's only 2 now, I guess. But like, last time I downloaded the Cinnamon edition on my laptop, because it was the only distro that would install out of the 5 I tried, by the way, on a fresh laptop. I downloaded the Cinnamon edition, and just in the course of doing regular boring things, the window manager would lock up approximately every 10 minutes randomly, and I would have to like Control Alt F1 Shift whatever to go to the console and kill and restart the window manager like every 10 minutes. It was absurdly unstable, and it was like for download on their front page, right? This stuff is absurd. And that's those 2 or N, however many there are today, distros are listed as 1 point on here. So you can only imagine how true that is for all of these. Just give it a break, people. Get your crap figured out. Make a cron job to restart the window manager every 10 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't matter that you're typing something right now. Let's restart the window manager. Like, seriously, look at all this. Look at all this. I wonder how many distros there actually are. And include now the number of distros that don't actually ever make it to a release, that somebody just puts a bunch of effort into trying to fork something and they just don't like quite get there. I'm sure it would be a lot more colored lines. Although there's not as many forks in the past couple years, which I guess is good. Maybe people are growing up. Oh, wait, down here we got a lot of forks. God. You can see all the trends too. Now we have Cloud Ready and Container Linux and blah, blah, blah. I bet a lot of these are containers because that's the new Hacker News kid trend. They don't understand why containers are dumb, so they just are all into them. So, what's my opinion on the current state of web development? My opinion is that I just turned the rant meter up to 10, and I'm going to burn out the rant batteries if I start talking about the web, so we'll save that for another time. Do I read Hacker News? I read Hacker News sometimes when I'm wasting time and I'm depressed and I'm not motivated. And then I always go there and I read some really dumb things and I regret going there. I do it less now, actually. A couple years ago, I used to go there like daily and I just got too frustrated with it. There's some smart people on Hacker News, but there's a lot of Dunning-Kruger effect on Hacker News. Like a lot. And just... because of the way distributions work, the number of smart people making comments is a lot less than the number of Dunning-Kruger people making comments. So you kind of have to sift for the smart people and not get frustrated by the others. Like this graph here, like open source people, certain sectors of the open source community will say, that's why Linux is, look how successful Linux is. Look at all these distros. And I look at this and I just see giant failure, right? Like Windows 8. What year did Windows 8 come out? Windows 8 release date. It was like 2012. Yeah, October 2012. So from this point here, so let's call it this line at the end of 2012. Microsoft was essentially doing everything they could to kill their own operating system inadvertently, right? They were like trying to force you to ship software on the Windows Store. They were like screwing up like, oh, you can't write to the C drive. We're getting in the way. We're doing all these forced updates and stuff, right? And then Windows 10, maybe people liked it a little more, but in that period there, it was a really dire time for Windows. And now they keep doing shenanigans with Windows 10, like all the tracking and stuff. So for these past 6 years, Microsoft has been destroying their own operating system. Linux still can't get headway on the desktop. And it's because of this. It's because there's no credible competition being mounted. Yeah, just the work to design this graph. Like somebody has a program that generates this graph probably, right? Maybe it's just a giant SVG. Yeah, it's a giant SVG file, but maybe someone edits it by hand. I don't even know. They just kind of tweak the splines till they have enough space between each other. I'm going to go use refactor because it has a cool name. I don't even have any idea what that is. SteamOS. Good reason people forked SteamOS. I'm sure that's a good idea. Craft Linux. I created plenty of programming languages before that. Was it also a waste of time? So a lot of programming languages are a waste of time, but not when they're sufficiently different from each other and not when you're learning. I didn't release most of my programming languages to the public because they were my private learning projects, right? In fact, I don't know if I ever released any of them to the public. I certainly didn't try to convince mass numbers of people to use them. But also, I mean, there's a question of like what makes something different enough that you need to do it. And I claim that there just can't be that, like, most of these distributions are just the same as each other, right? In essence, they like picked slightly different versions of packages to ship or something, right? There's almost nothing in the way of fundamental operating system differences in any of these, right? Whereas in a programming language, if you ship a new language, well, it's a waste of time if you're like, I'm going to make it like C, but with minor syntactic differences that don't change anything. But if you do something like, I'm going to make a language built around structured transactional memory in a way that nobody has before because I have this new idea, then that's not a waste of time. That's totally different from C, right? You don't see stuff like that here. And maybe part of it is because distros are so goddamn big and have so many packages. Maybe you should cut down on the amount of software that you're thinking about, right? The biggest change that I'm aware of was the whole systemd versus init directory thing. And people had a cow about that, even though it's like, oh my God, somebody's actually thinking about changing the operating system and trying to improve it. Whether you agree with that specific decision or not, it's at least like attempted progress. Oh my God, right? So it's just, does LERP count as learning project? I think so, yeah. It was an experiment. You know, it was never intended as a language for production, that's for sure. Refactor 8.0 is an average Linux distro. That's what's great about it. All right. So I'm not saying these distros aren't wasting anyone's time or are wasting anyone's time, although they are. Like, I tried to use Linux Mint. I tried to use 4 distros before that. None of them would install on my laptop, right? Why? Why couldn't they just install on my laptop? Well, because it's so much work to make them work. Well, why not pool your effort and do all that work? Well, because we're doing all these simultaneous distros. That's what I'm talking about, right? If people would just knuckle down and pool their effort better and like do the not fun work that needs to be done, stuff would be better than it is. I'm telling you. That's the product mentality that people in commercial software understand that open source people don't totally understand, right? People in open source software, they start doing something and they don't totally like it and then they bail or whatever. It's like, okay, whatever, bro. Do I think there are significant problems with the Linux kernel, or are the problems more at the layers above it? I don't know very much about the Linux kernel. I do think that the idea of device drivers, as we have them today, both on Windows and Linux, is a disaster, and we shouldn't have that, right? We should have a basic protocol that devices speak, and that if I want to talk to, you know, this eye tracker, right? That should be strictly a user level operation. You know, plus you have a little bit of security marshaled through the kernel to verify that like I have authority to talk to a hardware peripheral, right? But beyond that, it should just be a protocol. It shouldn't be driver software. because drivers are a disaster. So you could say that's a little bit like a Plan 9 kind of philosophy, except I don't think the Plan 9 protocol is the right way to do it. I would like to see something like that. And that's not what Linux is like, so whatever. You're saying, please stop blaming Linux distribution for hardware vendors' problems. But that's your job. Your job, if you are putting together an operating system, your job is to make it work on people's fucking computers. You can't say, don't blame me, it doesn't work. You're supposed to make it work. That's your job. Okay, so some hardware vendors are not helping you. Work around it. Solve the problem. It's your job. God damn. Understand that. Like, jeez. That's what I'm saying about product mentality that people don't have. Like, okay, if your thing cannot install successfully on a certain chipset because you just can't figure it out, detect the chipset and at least print an apology followed by instructions on how people can do something to get your operating system running. Don't just like fail to boot because whatever, right? Oh, but that's a lot of work to do that. Well, don't do 10 trillion distros. Oh my God, okay. Did I see Casey's 30 million line problem lecture? Yes, and I agree with it. I agree. It was a good lecture. How do you compare static versus dynamic languages? Which one do you prefer? Why? I prefer static languages only. I'm sure there's a YouTube rant about why I don't think dynamic languages are any good. I'm going to stop ranting. I've been ranting too much. A brownout. The main problem is that there are too many hardware combinations. It's simply impossible to test all of them. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's impossible. It may be difficult, but everybody says the power of open source software is the massive number of people that work on it. If that's true, put your money where your mouth is. Show the power of open source software by making it work on the hardware. Seriously. You know, walk the walk or stop talking the talk is what I have to say about that. Do I know anyone who rants better than me? Casey rants pretty good. Jeff rants pretty good. No, this is not at all like pulling up all the games ever made, because almost all of these operating systems have negligible advantages with respect to each other. They're almost all the same thing, right? Different games are different, right? Even the difference between PUBG and Fortnite, two games in the same genre, is larger than the average distance between any two of these distros by a lot. By like a lot. Do I have any plans to weave social components in my future games? It's not really the way that I think about things. You know, there's a couple of multiplayer game ideas that I might want to do, but they're just very vague ideas right now. Will I ever do a guest appearance on Jeff and Casey show? I don't know. They haven't done a guest appearance in a long time. Oh yeah, Mike Acton is a good ranter. Sean McGrath, good ranter. I compared Linux distros to video game genres because somebody else in chat did. I was responding to what someone did. It's not a very natural comparison. Someone is saying distros have nothing to do with them not being able to fix a driver issue. Some people work on the Linux kernel and others work on kernels. I think you meant others work on distros. That's my point. Stop doing the wasted work that is not important and start doing the things that are important. Do the things that are important. Do I have eye tracker software running? Yes, I'm sure that makes this graph extra good. Okay, I'm going to close this God-forsaken graph. Wait, I'm going to zoom out again. Let's zoom out and appreciate it. How do I zoom out? So eventually the aspect ratio of this graph is, you can't even, like at max zoom, you can't, like, look at that. Look at that. Okay. Goodbye. What I'm basically saying here is that people who like to build OSs in their weekends for fun should not do that. I'm not exactly saying that. I am saying that if you look at open source as a whole, let's forget that. If you look at Linux distros as a whole, almost all of the effort that goes into putting them together is completely wasted. Isn't that a problem? Right? If you want Linux to be good on the desktop, wouldn't that be a way to fix it? If you care about the future freedom of your computers and you want them to not be enslaved by Windows or Chrome OS or Mac OS, isn't it important to have the free as in freedom desktop operating system be good? So you're saying, and again, instead they should try to compete with giants like MS and Apple. Look, again, the rhetoric of open source software, when pundits talk about open source, what they say is open source is so powerful and amazing because a giant horde of people from all around the world can work on it. Okay, so walk the walk. Don't say, oh, we can't compete with giants like MS and Apple if what you're saying about open source is that it's so powerful because so many eyes are on the software, right? There's some phrase that everybody says about all the eyes on the code. If that's true, make it true. I want to stop arguing about this. We'll just agree to disagree. But I'm not talking about the rhetoric of individual people. I'm talking about the broadly speaking, the general rhetoric of the open source community. Yeah, so LLVM is one open source project that is relatively effective. It's true. I think it's better managed than most open source projects. I don't like the coding style at all. I think it's a giant mass of too much code, but it's undeniably effective. I'm not trying to say that all open source is bad. I said 10 minutes ago, I'm not trying to say that. God damn, stop trying to argue against things I'm not saying. There are good things about open source. I'm just saying I would like for open source to succeed. I'm not trying to make it fail. I am saying there's reasons why it's not succeeding as well as it should. And they're obvious. They are obvious reasons to anybody who's ever managed projects and tried to have things be productive. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's end of rant. I'm not going to reply to any more comments on this topic today. Any chance I can take some time to explain the inner structure of the compiler? There is a video, I don't remember which one, but there's a video where I explain all the pipes, what all the different pipes are, and it was before I was doing a dependency refactor. It was one of those days like this weekend where I was going to do a big task, and And it was a scary dependency refactor, so I spent some time explaining to people what that was. If anyone remembers that, you could paste the link to the person asking this question. It's on YouTube for sure. I just don't remember which video it is. There's a bunch there. I would like to do an operating system, but holy cow, I've got a lot of projects right now, and maybe I should just not add new projects, and I should buckle down and finish these projects. Yeah, this is the thing, you know, like Windows 10 is getting worse and worse, so there's really an opportunity to beat it. It's a good opportunity. It's a better time now to displace Windows than it's ever been in history. Would I consider making a series introducing people to compiler writing after the project is done? Maybe. Yeah, I've thought about it. It's just, there's so many things. Like I decided someday I'm going to write a game design book, and it's like, well, maybe I won't do handmade compiler for a while. Maybe I will. We'll see. We'll see. Thanks for the compliment, Staghouse. I will continue to work hard. Yeah, Odin's inspired by this language, but he's taking it in a slightly different direction. You know, he has different ideas about what he wants to do, and I think that's cool, you know. But broadly speaking, it looks the same because I think he started in a similar place. I mean, I would work on an operating system from the ground up, like a replacement for the kernel. Because it would work in a fundamentally different way. It would be a lot more about so we have all these, I've ranted about this before, but just in summary, we have all these layers built up causing all this complexity and bugs and stuff that are not necessary because they're mostly redundant with each other, right? So I said that thing about, I said a throwaway line earlier tonight about containers being stupid. They are, because containers, we already have containers, right? It's called executables with statically linked or dynamically linked and siloed libraries. Like that's just a thing that exists. It's just people decided that they wanted to magically swap out your dynamic libraries behind your back and not let you run. That's a bad idea, right? Hence now we have containers. When we already had containers in frickin' 1970, okay? So like we need to simplify these things and bake them back down. And that is the thing that will save computers. Which is also the topic of Casey's 30 million line problem or whatever it's called, that talk. Any ETA in the current game? I really don't know. It's done when it's done. Will I do some more compiler work in this stream? No, I'm pretty tired. As you can tell from the rant, I'm pretty tired. After we finish in a few minutes, I'm going to go to bed. But we might do some more streaming tomorrow. And the video on demand on the Twitch site for all of today's and yesterday's streams is going to be up. It's like probably 20 hours of work, maybe not that much. Maybe that much. Yeah, so Flying Solomon is talking about Windows problems he had. I've certainly had similar problems. Like I'm saying, now is as good a time historically as it has ever been, probably the better than it has ever been time to replace Windows as the operating system that people use. on desktop computers. Of course, iOS and Android are the operating systems people use on phones. Android, of course, being a fork of Linux. So there's that. Wouldn't supporting all the hardware in the world be a nightmare? I would start, because it would be an experimental operating system for a while, I would start with specific hardware only. I would say, if you buy this exact desktop or this exact laptop, you can run this operating system. And we're just going to focus on making the OS good, right? And then when we have a good OS, and we've ironed out all the problems, because anytime you do something that's fundamentally different, you're not going to understand it completely. So you gain understanding of it, you make it work, and then you work on hardware support after that. So, initially, just like with the initial release of this compiler, it's going to be for a smaller circle of enthusiasts, like a closed alpha, right? We would do a closed alpha of the operating system and just say like, hey, look, it runs on the following hardware, right? Or in a VM on Windows, right? And then from there, we would improve it. Or in a VM on Linux, probably, right? So you break your problems into multiple stages, and you solve them one problem at a time. What measurements do I take to counter the negative impacts of sitting still for long periods of time? I tend to move a lot. Today and yesterday, I've been sitting a lot more because of the long streaming hours, and my body definitely feels it. It's definitely more shut down than it usually is. But I do go out and move a lot. I go dancing and do Tai Chi sometimes when I'm being good these days and whatever. Do I know any people working on Linux distros? I don't believe so. I mean, I probably do. I just don't know that I know them, right? What we need in any OS is the ability to guarantee that no program can access anything else without realizing it is being blocked. So it does not know it is being sandboxed. I sort of agree with that. Like, I definitely agree we need better partitioning like that built into the operating system, right? I don't want someone to be able to turn on my camera and record me somehow. That said, the user experience of getting things working is often terrible. And if your software can't be user-friendly because it doesn't know if it's working or not, that might actually be pretty terrible. So I don't know how that would work out. Do I take any stimulants? No, I drink some tea. That's all. And it's regular tea with caffeine. But I don't drink it past, 6 or 7 at night because I want to go to sleep. Okay, cool, but that's exactly what happens with Linux. No, it's not. No, it's not. If I go to the Linux Mint page, they just say, download Linux Mint on your laptop and then be upset when it doesn't totally work. Like, they don't say, they don't have a specific onboarding procedure where they walk you through, this is how we do this, right? This is the hardware you exactly need. Do I still use a standing desk? Yes, I tried to use it today to stand, but the eye tracker didn't work very well because the angles changed somehow. Like I ended up further back or something. I don't know. I'll try it again later. I keep falling back in the trap of the Linux distro conversation. I finished ranting. I was talking about more general operating system things. But now it is time to go. It's bedtime. Thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out instead of partying on Saturday night. I am going to do some sleeping. We might stream again tomorrow. If we stream tomorrow, what we're going to do is, well, there's one very minor thing on this list. We got almost everything on the paper list. There's one very minor thing that we might do, and then we might do compiler bugs, because we've still got like bugs 169 to 174 to fix. And that, if I could get through all of those, that would be a great weekend. So we'll see. Thanks everybody for stopping by. See you later.